a higher, level of self-awareness for sure. A higher appreciation for the healing process for sure. A higher sense of importance surrounding, accepting traumas, grieving your traumas, and getting to a point where, you can deal with, that depression, that heartache, and fight depression head on, find routines. When I first started, when I was writing in May, of 2019, I was homeless, and of course you knew that already, but, I was in this position where, I couldn't afford rent. And so, this routine.
You weren't living on the streets. We want people to know that.
I wasn't.
And I didn't see you as homeless.
Yeah. I didn't. Let's put it like this. I was not, asking for change or anything, but.
And you were employed.
And I was employed, but my debt matched my income, and I could not afford rent, and I had maxed out credit cards in the process. So I had, it was one of those situations in which, my paycheck would go directly to bills. And so I didn't know where I was going to live. I couldn't stay where I was at. I put all my stuff in storage. I gave away my car. And I went, on a 4.5-month journey trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I didn't have a consistent space. I had the resources to, have a consistent space, but because nowhere felt, how do I say this? Like I felt off throughout the whole process because I felt like I belonged in Colorado.
Yeah.
And so it was about me trying to find a way to get back to where I felt like I belonged. And, that was just such a...
Hey, everyone. Let's start healing. I'm Adrienne Murchison, and welcome to episode 74 of the Let's Start Healing podcast. We have more in common than we think. And what we have in common can change the world. And it's my hope that every episode proves that. This episode is extra special. I have titled it Speak Your Truth because that is what my guest has done in his book. My guest is my nephew, Justin Murchison, who is returning for his third appearance on Let's Start Healing. Justin has written a book that I call a memoir titled Love is Love, and he's written it in a very unique way that we will share during our conversation. But he is definitely speaking his truth in this book, Love is Love. And he is talking about experiences in a way that men don't often do so easily, and men will certainly relate to, as well as women. But it is about his journey through some dark experiences, some heavy experiences. So he talks about how he has shown up sometimes in arrogance, sometimes during a loss of a loved one, during depression, dealing with insecurities in relationships. He talks about so much. And during the process of him writing this book, I was honored to be able to read some of his writings. And he had a focus group of friends who he would share and drop some of his writings in a group, a text group. And that was powerful to see the responses to what he was writing, especially from men, and for them to feel the connection and to be able to express their own vulnerability as a result of him opening up about things that he was feeling or had felt in the past. The process of Justin writing this book is so wild, and he will share it. But I will say to you that he was truly connected to his higher power. He was truly connected to his spiritual self. He was truly connected to divinity. And he'll share how when he's writing, it's coming from somewhere else. He was visiting me during this conversation, and he's been having friends read with fresh eyes the completed version of his book. One afternoon when he was here recently, one of his friends told him that he thought that his foreword could be a little deeper than it was. So he went out on the deck where I live, and he thought about that for a minute, and all of a sudden the words just came to him out of nowhere, what he really wanted to say in the foreword of his book. And he says, oh my God, I got to get this down right now. And he did this in like a span of maybe 15 minutes. And then when he read it to me, I was like, what? Like, I mean, I'm a writer, and I was amazed just what came through him in just a matter of minutes. And so he speaks to that. He speaks to how these words come to him from somewhere else. This is just a very fun conversation for me, and it's why I love doing this podcast. I love talking to people about who they are and how they connect to their own spirituality and what that means to them, how they get through this world. Justin lives in Denver. He works in technology for a major institution, but in his own business, separate from that, he's a photographer, he's a marketer, and he is a constant traveler around the globe. As I mentioned, this is his third appearance. Go back and listen to episode 9 as well, where he really goes into his journey in depth, and also episode 50. Also in our conversation, he touches on astrology a little because his sun sign is Cancer. And we talk about the moon. And if you're into astrology at all, or you want to learn more about how that plays a role, how that can play a role in our life, I want to also invite you to listen to episode 21, where I am talking to an astrologer, Laura Tad, and she discusses everything in such a real way that will not seem woo-woo to you. Before we get started, I want to invite you to subscribe to Let's Start Healing podcast. It is available on traditional platforms, including Apple and Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. So let's get started. Let's meet him, and let's start healing. Welcome, Justin.
What's up, man? We back. Round 3.
Right? Round 3. If people know what's good for them, they'll listen to the first 2 episodes before this one, because this one is something extra special, right?
It is. It's like a full circle, you know?
Definitely.
It feels good to finally kind of like, it's like I'm watching the progression along each podcast. You know, each time we talk, it's kind of like something different going on.
Right.
And then for this one to come full circle, and then be able to go back to the first one and see how much like it came into fruition, is going to be kind of wild.
Right.
So I'm excited to see what we get into.
Well, thank you for doing this.
Oh,
you know I love it that
Absolutely.
you do this with me.
Absolutely.
And so what we are here to do is celebrate and let listeners know about your upcoming book.
Yes.
Which is titled
Love is Love.
Love is Love.
We did it, Joe.
So this is where I want to start.
Okay.
I want to start. First of all, this is a spiritual podcast, and this is a spiritual book. And you went super crazy deep with what you wrote. And tell me if I'm describing this right.
Okay.
I want to describe it as a book of poems that you wrote that are really a reflection, I would even dare say a memoir of your life. And that each poem, the book is divided into sections, which you can share, but each poem, it's not a traditional poem. They aren't traditional poems in the way that people might think.
I just want to say, I don't mean to cut you off. You even referring to them as poems is like the biggest compliment in the world. Like I think I talked to you about this. Like I never even thought of myself as a poet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I look at writing as like levels. So like your tier 1's like, all right, well, I'm gonna write an autobiography, right? Then your tier 2's your authors. They write the novels and stuff like that. To me, tier 3 is poetry because it's art. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And it's like growing up, I never really it was almost like this puzzle when you would read certain things, you would learn about the different haikus and different types of poems and so forth. It was like wordplay to the max. And so for you to refer to these as poems, I mean, thank you. You know, I can't let the moment go without saying I'm appreciative.
Oh man, there's so much that I want to bring up, but then at the same time I want to dive deep into it. So each one they're all a reflection of experiences on your life journey.
Yeah.
And I was honored to be one of the people who are close to you.
The focus group, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And but as a family member, as your blood,
yeah.
And honestly, I tell people that you're my soulmate.
For sure.
I told
Soul
you.
ties,
I
man.
told you when you were 16. Was that in 2008? Were you 16?
Oh, don't make me do math. Don't make me do math.
I told you, I was like, you're my soulmate.
Yeah.
You know, because we have similarities in our soul, and I feel connected to you as I do to all of my family members. And just to experience what you were experiencing, to have a glimpse. I don't have the words, but as you were writing what you were writing and sharing it with me, and the awareness of where you were in your process of unfoldment spiritually, was it was amazing. It was amazing. It was beautiful. I'm telling you, I was so honored and was really just brought to tears by just being able to experience it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so happy that we were in consistent communication.
Yeah.
Throughout that, so it's like firsthand while it's fresh. You know how you say, well, you like, it's good to speak on it when it just happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So while it's fresh in your mind, you get the most detail and vividness and emotion from it.
Yeah.
And it's not just some delayed story.
Right.
You know, I don't know. It was kind of serious. It was kind of real. I mean, I can't even describe it. You know, I can try, but it's.
Well, I want to rewind, and I want to ask you about something regarding the title, because when I see Love is Love, I love the title. God is love. That, to me, that's the ultimate. God is love, period.
Yeah.
You have tattoo. You have many tattoos.
I do.
But you have a tattoo that I think you might have tweaked a little bit since, I'm not sure, I could be wrong on this, but you have a tattoo that I remember it was, am I wrong? Was it love and hate?
It was on each bicep.
Yeah. Now, you were 18 at that time?
18, 19, yeah. Freshman in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then do they still say love and hate, or what do they say?
I've covered up the hates that I've had on me. You know, I had that scripture on my chest that I covered up with a phoenix. And then my arm, I put my fraternity emblem on there, and then I've wrapped it around to kind of cover up hate. I don't know, just something about having the word hate on my body.
Yeah.
Just kind of didn't.
Definitely.
You know, I was young getting these tattoos, really, really, really emotional, you know. And you look back on them sometimes, and it's like, all right, well, I'm in a space now where I can kind of fix it up some to where it's not something that's such a big word to put on you. You know
it's a
mean?
big
It's
word.
heavy,
It was a big word, but I remember asking you about it, and I don't want to fumble what you said, and you might not even remember, but it wasn't, I mean, you had a high level response.
Yeah.
Because I was concerned about that word on you, but you had this high level response of, you know, why the word was there.
Do you remember?
You know, no. I mean,
Like,
I remember in my spirit, but then I'm going to get it all wrong.
Yeah,
so.
I think initially it was just like the symbolic representation of the highs and lows.
Okay.
You know, the yin and yang of emotions. You know what I mean? The love and hate, how closely they intertwine.
Right.
You know, the younger me just saw it differently a little bit. The older me is just looking at it like, all right, well, you're surrounding yourself with all this positive energy. You know, and the world is filled with so much hate.
Right.
You know, the least I can do is just create a space that just represents something that I can just exist in peacefully. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just, you know, we don't need that. We don't need that.
So, Love is Love.
Yeah.
What made you choose that title?
Man, life kind of did. I don't know when I started saying it. You know,
that's true, because you walk around and you're like, love is love.
You know, it's just kind of like my end all be all. It has so many different facets to me. You know, it's kind of like my okay. You know, like it's all good. You
right.
know, it's everything you need in a sentence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you could break a sentence down to just say everything you need to say in the least amount of words as possible, you know, outside, of course, of your well-known short sentences. I'm not going to get into it that much, but love is love, man. Like, just.
Right.
What do you say after that? Like, that's just conclude.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I just adopted it over time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just kind of captured so much. You know, and the more and more I said it, it just kind of resonated with me. I hadn't even thought about the book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm telling you, bro, this stuff is just kind of fitting into place on its own. I'm not coming up with this.
You're
like,
being led.
Yeah, this
for
isn't.
sure. It's
this,
a calling.
This
and
isn't
you're being led.
premeditated. Yeah, it's not premeditated at all. Like, it fit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think the last time we were talking, when I was here back in 2019, I think, when I was writing.
The summer of 2019.
Yeah, I think it was May. Yeah, we were writing. I think, what do we call it? Rules of engagement. That's what it's gonna be.
Oh, right.
Yeah. We said we were gonna call it rules ROE, right?
Uh-huh.
Rules of engagement, and you know, that was cool.
Yeah,
but
you were gonna write a book then.
Yeah.
Rules of engagement.
Yeah, and I think what took me so long too was that I just always thought of novels when I thought of books. Right? You think of hundreds and hundreds of pages of somebody just talking. And I was like, bro, I don't have that much to say.
Oh, man. So
You know
I have
what I
to
mean?
let people know. So I'm a writer,
Yeah.
and I'm used to, you know, what writing looks like,
Yeah.
which it used to look like, and it can still for many people, handwriting out something for many people. For many people these days, including myself, it's typing on your laptop.
Which is incredibly hard to do without doing typos.
Because,
Jesus,
the way
man.
that you wrote this book literally was on your phone.
I did.
I mean, that is the most crazy thing to me.
Yeah.
But you wrote this out on your phone, and you would write it. It wasn't like you sat down at a desk and said, and you know, focused and said, "Whoop, okay," and everything just came to you. You would be One time you told me you were standing in line at. You were getting something to eat when you wrote one of them. I forgot the restaurant
Was it
that
Chipotle?
it was. Chipotle, yeah.
Chipotle, yeah.
Chipotle.
Yeah. I was in line at Chipotle, one of those rush hours.
Yeah.
And it just started hitting me.
Yeah. And then you just started.
Yeah. I wish I knew which one that was. That I really do, because that was a moment. It just, honestly, I channeled
yes, you did.
This whole thing.
Thank you for saying that, because you absolutely did.
You know, and so, you know, when I open myself to that space, you know, and it sounds wild, but you know, once you raise your frequency to that level, you know, it's one of those. It's not on your time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it would be, you know, in this sanctioned time that I had in the day where I was like, all right, let me just sit down and focus, play some music, headphones, da 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 da. But no, sometimes I'd be driving.
Yeah.
You know, I've had to do voice memos before. Like, my notes is scattered right now because certain sentences would just come to me.
You wrote some deep stuff that you're going to share a little bit of.
Yeah.
But I mean, you really went to deep places, really different corners of your heart and your spirit that where you were vulnerable. I mean, you were sharing this with a group of your peers, I assume, you know, who are close to you, who are men and women, and you exposed yourself, and everybody was blown away. Yeah. You know, I loved it.
It was heavy, man.
Very, very heavy.
Coming from such an egotistical, you know, background in regards to just being so prideful, and this and that.
Yeah.
You know, kind of breaking down layers of yourself to the masses was just wild.
Wow. So when you just said opening yourself up to the frequency.
Yeah.
Can you describe that?
Yikes. You want me to, like, tell the story?
Oh, there is a story? I didn't know that.
Yeah. The day, that Sunday, remember when I called you? When I,
Yes. Tell the story. Tell the story.
Can I do that?
Yes.
Okay. Yikes. Okay. All right. It was a Sunday. And I knew, right? So I hadn't wrote since the first podcast, for real. Mm-hmm. That we did when I was writing here in Atlanta. And
that was the second podcast.
No.
Oh.
That was the first.
That
one.
was
the second one was virtually during the pandemic.
Exactly. Excuse me.
And so, you know, you spend so long kind of like not using something. You know, yes, you have this thought that it would be like riding a bike, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, part of me was like, can I still do it? Like, you know, I would read some of my old stuff that I was writing back then. It was just like, geez, like, this is really good.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, well, how can I do this again? You know, you just seem it just felt so out of touch.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so out of touch with this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so to my thought process was like, all right, well, I need to put myself in a space of meditation to open myself up to be able to channel like that again. Like, let me see if I can still access years of just, you know, internalization maybe is the word for it, but just ignoring it, you know, right? And just not feeding it. I hadn't fed it in so long. And so, dude, man, listen.
This is not recommended.
This is not okay. We're gonna tell it. So I said, all right, I'm gonna try some shrooms. Well, I'm not trying. In Colorado, they're decriminalized and so forth for all the attorneys out there. But, shrooms. And I remember the afternoon, I said, all right, I'm gonna do some shrooms, and I'm gonna smoke, and I'm just going to woosah, and just kind of put my space, just open myself up to just that, and just face them. You know, like you
face your
demons,
yourself and your
my demons. Yeah, like, there's things I just still hadn't healed from. There's things I just kind of just pushed aside. Things I just assumed I recovered from by just ignoring to the point where I stopped thinking about it. Right, and so I just remember that day, man. It was like 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock. And I took some shrooms, not a lot, just a little bit. And I sat down outside and I smoked a little bit, and I wrote one of my passages on everything, and that was just so. It was like my initial release, right? And I just tapped into it. I remember I called my graphic designer Bria, let her read it, and she might be mad at me for saying this, but she was out to eat, right? And this was like the tester. It was like, all right, like it does this even make sense? Is what I said. You know what I mean? Because when I'm writing, it's a channel, right? And so I'm not reading as I go. It's an on. Excuse me. We might have to do that again. I was knocked the mic over. Really, when I'm writing, it's a channel. So it's almost like it's an ongoing sentence in regards to I'm not looking at what is, I'm just kind of flowing. I just got to get into this little rhythm. And so my first time reading the whole thing will be, when I call you and read it to you. Yeah. And I remember a lot of times I would say, does this even make sense? Yeah. And so I sent it to her. Just to say, look, do I really need to be writing a book right now? And bro, she called me back in the bathroom crying. And she was just like, yes, this is it. Like, keep going. And as soon as she said that, I said, okay. And I put my phone down, and a couple minutes went by, and the shroom started to hit. And I can explain I can explain it. It's just gonna sound wild. It got dark. I'm sitting outside at 2:00 in the afternoon, and it's like the sun went down. You know what I mean? So I write about this in the book, in my own subtle way, but I just remember the feeling, right? I'm inside. I go back inside. Mind you, my roommate's sitting on his couch, 10 feet away from me. I felt like I couldn't even reach him. You know what I mean? I felt like we weren't even in the same room. We weren't even in the same place, right? So I go upstairs to one of my rooms. I call it my den where I got a TV, my snowboards and stuff, and I just sitting there, and I just remember like, yo, what is this? It just felt so small. I felt so small, and I went back outside again, and I just remember the feeling, because I even called people, right? I remember the feeling. It was just like nothing mattered. Yeah. You know what I mean? It just felt like everything in my life that I'm doing is just a temporary piece of dopamine that's just for the moment, and it doesn't really mean anything. None of my accomplishments mean anything. I'm not really doing anything. Life is just so small and insufficient. I've never felt death like that before. I've never been somebody so deeply in my depression that I can't see straight. I felt so empty, alone. You know what I mean? I called Bria back. And I was just like, yo, you know what I mean? And, I damn near was crying, because it just was, I just felt everything at once, you know what I mean? And it was just so much. It was so overwhelming. And I mean, like, I was just like, dude, I got to be vulnerable. Like, I'm even thinking about the book in the process. Like, I have to just, like, the thought of me just like pouring my heart out into the world, it just felt weird. I mean, like, I really went through it for a couple months. She was like, center yourself, King. These are facts. She's like, center yourself, King. And I said, all right, and I hung up the phone, and, I just accepted it. Yeah. And it took me so long to figure out and it lasted for a couple hours, and then eventually it went on. I just remember I I felt like everything was just coming to me at the same time. I just felt like I just opened myself up to just this space of existence to where I felt happiness. I felt alone. I felt life. I felt death. You know, I felt positivity. I felt negatively. You know, I felt like I could do anything. I felt like I couldn't do anything.
Right.
You know, I felt everything at once, and it was just the amount of darkness that I felt just overwhelmed me and alarmed me, because, you know, I've never been one that just lives in just sorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been sad, of course, but, you know, just your life is spent around just getting over those moments really quickly and getting back to regular programming. I've never just sat in it. And so for the longest, mind you, on shrooms, you know, it feels like 10 minutes is an hour and some change.
Yeah.
And so it felt like forever. And I remember I went to the bathroom and I just looked at myself, you know, and I was just like, yo, like, what is this? And I just didn't even recognize who it was. Didn't even, like, it was just like, I don't know what this is. I felt like I wasn't alone. I felt like, and it just lasted. I had to walk. I couldn't even stay inside.
Yeah.
I could not stay inside. I had to go outside and walk around the neighborhood. And it's hot outside. You know what I mean? And just until it just, you know, just till it passed, you know what I mean? And for a while, I just know what that was. And I might be rambling right now, but
no, when you said, I was wondering about one of the things you said. When you said you felt like nothing mattered, did you feel like you had an awareness that nothing matters, or you felt hopeless?
I felt depression. I felt death. I felt like nothing I ever did for the betterment of myself meant anything. It felt like everything I've ever done so far in life just wasn't enough. I felt insufficient. You know, that those are the words. Wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I sprinkle those throughout the book, but no, it's for real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's for real. And I accepted my demons. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And so to accept your demons, what does that do for you? Because that's a big thing for me. As hard as it is to look at pain, to me, it's first of all, it's not the death that, you know, we fear it is, but you know, we come out. In my view, we come out the other side, healed and whole. Healed and whole. And what did that look like? What did that look like for you? What does it look like?
The process of healing, or
yeah, or facing your demons.
Okay. So facing my demons, what did it look like for me? I mean, they kind of go hand in hand, I guess, without rambling about it. But it meant starting the process of healing for me. You know what I mean? And accepting all those deep, dark emotions that I just muddled down, you know what I mean, to the inner, you know, parts of my soul to just never bring up to light again. Things I just never thought would see light again. You know what I mean? That just brewed and built on and compound on itself, you know, in those dark tunnels that I had. In that moment, it just felt overwhelming. That's my word for that. It just felt like it all hit me at once. And I've never felt so consumed like that before. You know what I mean? How does it feel now in the process of, like, me actually completing a large part of my healing process? I mean, it feels amazing. You know what I mean? It was necessary, you know? And
why?
Why was it necessary? Because, okay. We spend so much time, right, just trying to be normal, just trying to just keep going and trying to stay in a steady state, you know, when in reality there's highs and lows, there's ups and downs, you know, and we never really allow ourselves to experience the lows. You know, it's only ups. And we don't give ourselves time to even process the lows. Like, we don't even grieve the way we should. You know what I mean? And so me personally, I just felt like I was always a person that had to be strong for the benefit of people around me, for myself. You know, I had to keep going. I felt like people always, like, you know, looking up to me. And, you know, I felt like the world couldn't see my weaknesses or chinks in my armor without me feeling like I was weak. You know, vulnerability wasn't the thing for me. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that you felt was acceptable in the culture. And so it didn't exist. you kind of numb yourself to some of these issues and problems that you kind of go through. And I never allowed myself to experience them sometimes. I didn't cry for real. I still don't cry for real. I'm getting better at it. I'm not saying I'm some crybaby. I'm trying to be. But, there's certain emotions that I'm thankful still exist based on how much damage they probably, endured through me just not giving them life. And so,
wow, that's pretty deep.
Deep, man.
That's pretty deep. There's still some emotions you are glad still exist. They're still there because of, what did you say about enduring?
Man, I'm gonna be honest. I can't ever repeat it that way again. We got the rewind the tape.
Because of what they endured. I felt like you were saying because of what they endured by neglect.
Neglect.
Being ignored.
Self-inflicted damage. You just don't give it life. You don't water nothing that helps keep you well rounded. People don't understand what health really is. It's physical, mental, spiritual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's such a big part that we're missing when we ignore the mental.
Yes.
We'll only ever be 66% healthy.
Yes. I have to say this because it stayed with me. I was watching, and I don't want to make light because I'm going to bring this up, but I was watching The Bachelorette last night.
That show's still on?
Yeah.
Okay.
And The Bachelorette, she's the second Black Bachelorette. And she actually... God, I was about to tell a big lie. I was about to say she's actually from Denver, but that's a big lie.
Yeah.
She's from Minnesota.
Okay.
But she was saying that, excuse me, she was in a relationship that she was really unhappy in, and it was really toxic. And she got sick. And she said that she got sick. She couldn't keep anything down. She couldn't take care of herself. She ended up going to stay with her parents because she said nobody was really checking on her. Her boyfriend wasn't checking on her really in the way that he should. And eventually she said she was so sick that the doctor spent months trying to figure out what was wrong with her, and that they had considered putting a bag in her, she said, because she couldn't keep anything down. And anyway, her boyfriend ends up saying, this is a lot. I can't do this anymore. And he left the relationship. And when he left the relationship, she got better. She healed. She was okay. And so she was saying her whole point was she had no idea that it was the relationship that was making her sick.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super powerful.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Super
powerful. It is real.
People really drain you of your life.
Yes.
Man.
Yes.
You got to be careful about who you allow in your space.
Well, so describe the book. First of all, it's. Am I correct in saying that it's in 3 parts? And I don't know. Sometimes I want to tell people, there's the dark side of the moon and lightness, and then there's a wolf, and So how would you say it?
All right. So the overall structure of the book, right? It has so many layers of symbolism, right? So the first things first, I'm a Cancer by sun. A lot of people don't care about this zodiac stuff, and that's cool.
It's very
real,
though.
Love is love.
Love is love.
You see how it fits?
Yeah, it does.
But Cancer's a moon child, and so I wanted to play off the moon. My spirit animal is a wolf. Both are dependent and are influenced by the moon. And so the chapters are broken down into 3 different sections. You have the full moon, which has your whole heightened senses. That's your awareness. That's you kind of realizing that everything's kind of not as peachy as you thought it was. It's heightened senses, so to speak, full power of the moon, so to speak. Then you have the blood moon, and that's a lunar eclipse. Kind of like a super moon and a lunar eclipse that happens at the same time. You have this huge red moon that you see on the horizon. And so that's the max of you. That's everything to the max. That's every emotion you have at its full capacity. Aggression, happiness, fear, pain, sorrow. And so that's the deeper passages. I'm not gonna lie about it. I put everything in those. Those really took everything
Very
from
deep.
me.
Yes.
And then you have new moon, which represents to me new beginnings, motivation, inspiration. The realization of self-worth. And so those are the 3 chapters, and then I got a big fat moon on the cover, and so I'm not going to tell you the design. I want you to see it, but those are the 3 sections of the book, and each section has about 10 to 11 passages. I think it's 31 total, but they all fit the category they're in. I'm not gonna lie about it.
So you were no question, you did channel a lot of this through your higher self, through spirit, through God, as far as I'm concerned, through your dad, your late dad, and other loved ones who have passed on, in my opinion. Also, what led up to this, you mentioned 31 chapters in
passages.
31 passages. 31 passages. So yes, you were writing some in 2019. Was it 2018, October 2018, when you had 31 days?
Yeah, that's when I started. Yeah.
Right. And each day you would write a passage that just would come to you. You would just go deep within and you'd write a passage and post it on Instagram.
And so that's where it started. I think what you're describing is more so the second round. The first round, when I did in October 2018, I had no idea what I was doing. You know, I was just writing, a couple sentences and posted. I think one of them was just about investing. You know what I mean?
I thought the 31 days.
Right.
Okay.
So 31 days started in October 2018, and then in May of 2019, that's when it became more of writing, and I was here.
Right.
And that was really when I was like, oh, okay, this might be something for real.
Yeah.
And that's when we did the first podcast and so forth. And I mean, it was way more than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
But in regards to me even starting this writing, this was not premeditated. I didn't start this in October of 2018 saying I'm going to write a book. I didn't care.
You just knew you wanted to write something, though. We didn't know that.
I just felt like, all right, I'm gonna I was led to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't take any credit for this. You know what I mean? It's just not me. I didn't do this.
Okay, so if I may, before we go to the writings, because you're such my soulmate, man. So, what you just said. So I have two sides. One, if I'm writing something that's related to God, I can just spit it out. I can just write. Yeah. If I'm writing something from my work, which is more of a craft, I have to, that is much more of a challenge, that I have to do day in and day out. And no
fluff.
No, it's not fluff. It's news.
Okay.
News. But my point in bringing this up is that before I write, I always have to say, God, please help me to write this story. And I will start writing. I might be about 10 or 15 minutes in, and I'll realize, God, please help me to write this story. I realize that I did not say that. Like, that is required for me to say that. God, please help me to write this story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's so crazy the space you have to put yourself into to be able to flow. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, I can't, just do it in any setting. I can't just do it in any state of mind. You know what I mean? I have to really bring myself to a point of just awareness that I can listen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
that's so beautiful.
And just let it flow.
Yes.
And I mean, to anybody who's been next to me, I think Bria was next to me when I wrote Pressure again. And then another friend of mine was next to me when I wrote The Conclusion, Manifestation. And, they both said the same thing. Like, I start breathing harder. You know what I mean? I think one of them was just like, you just kept going, like you just didn't stop. And and just you wonder where it comes from. Like, right, I think my main concern throughout the whole process of writing this was just like, all right, I hope I'm not just being repetitious. I hope I'm not saying the same shit over and over and over again. You know what I mean? Because that's what you're worried about as a writer, right? You worry about just dragging the point out, and not being somebody that captures your attention for the longevity. I think about my own attention span in the process. Like, how long, when's the last time I sat down long enough to read a book and not just watch documentaries?
Right.
Like that's my cheat code now. My attention span needs me to see pictures and stuff, as I've gotten older. Excuses, right? I just can't discipline myself to do it.
But there's all kinds of people, we were talking about podcasts earlier and about shorter podcasts versus longer podcasts, but there's all kinds of people. Even though, somebody might like something short and brief, there are plenty of people who need rich depth.
And that's something I learned along the way. Definitely, when you find the people that actually want to take the time to be in your focus group or be a part of your leading team and so forth. I think when I was writing, I was thinking of the me's in the world.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking of the people that were similar to myself.
Yeah.
That are going through what I'm going through, that lack the time and attention, quote unquote.
Right.
You know, to sit down and deal with their own problems and traumas and so forth. You know, and so I wanted to always stay in a place where they had to keep going. I know what it feels like to be addicted to what you're doing. You know, in regards to maybe it's a show you're watching, maybe it's a book you read, whatever. I know what it's like to just be on the edge of your seat and be that into what you have in front of you that you just long for more. I binge watched some of the best shows. You know, I wanted them to binge the book.
Yeah.
I wanted you to be able to sit down.
Well, it's pretty easy to do that.
It is. It's not that long. You know, it's about 31. Well, it'll be plus all the title pages and stuff, but less than 40 pages. You know, or 40 flips of pages. You know, because we got pictures and stuff in there too. But I wanted you to be able to sit down for an hour and some change and get it done right then. Do it right now. And I was like,
because it's so complete.
Right. How could I say the most right now in such a short amount of time, in as little as possible, you know, and get my message across right now. Right. You know, and hopefully this does that.
It does.
You know?
It does. Well, so you're going to share a couple of maybe even three.
How many is a couple?
Maybe even three. Well, just so you know, one of them you think you're not going to read, but you never know.
You really? I can't. You keep talking about angels. So I wrote Angels about my dad. And you know, I didn't expect to be writing that. Honestly, I sat in the car and I was actually thinking I was going to rewrite something else. And you know, there's a couple rewrites in here, obviously, because the May time in which I was here, I wrote some real powerful stuff, and I felt like it deserved to be there. And so I thought I was doing a rewrite that day, and I just started. And I, you know, when I finished, I was just like, no, this is his own thing, and I entitled it Angels, you know. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna read it. I want. You gotta earn that. You know what I mean? If you want to read that, and it's definitely something that's a tearjerker. I call them tearjerkers. Yeah. I like to warn people before they read certain ones. Like, remember I was like, look, this one's gonna be kind of heavy. Yeah. You know. But yeah, you know, no, I'm not giving you that. If you want that,
you're saying that to the listeners because I got it.
Yeah, she has it. Adrian has all the passages. She has the whole book. But I want them to go get the book. Yeah. Okay. You know, I'll read a few though. But yeah, that one's kind of special to me. You know
I know. I no question. You know, I understand. So you're going to read one that you choose and one that I choose.
So I'm going to read yours, and then we're going to think about the second one.
Okay. All right. Which one was the one where you were talking about? I felt like you were actually atoning for the relationships. Was that called atonement for past relationships? I felt like you were.
You got contrition. You got toxic therapy, and you got love. Me coming into it.
Right. But those so I just want you to read Bliss, and then you choose.
I'm gonna read Bliss,
and you'll read the one. You'll read the right and perfect one that you choose.
Yeah, something to hit me as I go. I might reread Reincarnation. Let them hear the rewrite.
Okay.
Can I start?
No, you can't start yet.
Okay. She getting her camera out, y'all. Yeah. You should see her with this tripod, man. This is Justin Radio, 97.95. You listen to smooth jazz. You know, I still don't listen to jazz.
Yeah, well.
One day.
You know we got some John Culture. We are going to be a John Culture.
John Culture. All right.
Wait.
All right. Okay. Bliss. I think I finally am starting to understand what it is that's happening to me. I'm ascending, shedding, burning sage a little less because it's beginning to burn within me. Think I tapped into a new layer of myself that day I accepted my providence. Weren't just demons breathing with me. Feel like my archangels met them where they stood. The wars existed for millenniums. I'm just aware of its occurrence now. There's always been love with me, within me. Don't gotta search for something that's walked with me this whole time. At last, my anxiety wanes. They starting to see the growth. They ask me what changed. I respond, I'm finding my happiness. Not in the money, not in some career or job, not in a temporary situation. I found it within myself. Starting to find the strength to withstand the loneliness because I've never been alone. The wisdom not to make decisions out of desperation. The patience to allow the universe to run its course. I learned how to accept the person looking back at me in the mirror because its power was only a reflection of the real thing. And my life began to change. The things I based my life around achieving began to appear. Yet my overall excitement towards them was a part of this. My materialistic obsessions felt adolescent, watered the roots of my plants, and shed light on them in the midst of darkness, and they grew. Wonder if they really know what I mean when they can tell I really mean that shit. Wonder if me acknowledging my bliss to the public puts its longevity in jeopardy. Wonder if I'm diminishing my time with it every time I mention it. Wonder if its consistency will ever forsake me in my quest for journey's completion. Because it feels so pure. The vision behind my actions feels less in the moment. Ashamed to say I never wanted to end because I feel guilty of never being able to acknowledge that pain still exists. Wonder if my happiness actually makes them desire to find their own. Or if they would take comfort in sharing some of mine. Wonder if they know how much I want it for them. How much I love them. How much those random calls lift me as much as they lift them. Got so much to give this world I really want to give. Wonder if my vulnerability pushes my desire towards understanding in an effort not to be misunderstood. Wonder if they know how much I'm praying they don't fumble me. Toxic therapy. Confused on what I'm supposed to do with all this trauma I refuse to speak on. Keep telling me therapy is the answer for me. I called him once. No answer. True story. I looked at it as a sign that some of this shit might have to hit the grave with me. Feel like if I shared the reasons why I'll never be the same, you wouldn't be either. It's like I know if you could see the real weight on my conscience, your grace would try to take some of it off of me. But it ain't meant for you. This the fire I need to succeed the whole time. Shit, I done grown so used to carrying it, the only time I remember it's on me is when you bring it up. So stop speaking on shit you don't understand. Me. Don't know when I made the decision to accept the fact that I'm defected. Found my crack in the concrete and grew my own flowers. So don't offer me none. I can't be nobody's charity case. People feel your pain and start treating you like you're weak. Y'all out here wondering why people don't ask you for help, and you the main one reminding them why favors ain't favors. They tools of your incompetence, ready to starve before I ask you for food. This ego a motherfucker, ain't it? Imagine living with it. Know there's power in being able to ask for help, but I gotta be as selective as I can to make sure the right ones receive the message. I'm not okay. I can feel you looking at me different already. This is why I didn't want to say shit in the first place. Now I got to show you my teeth. Got to let you know that I be tripping sometimes, but I never fall. I take pride in that. I probably cling too much to that. But in the world of inconsistency, it's all I got that I know for a fact ain't going to switch up on me. And here you come along asking me to be disloyal to the only thing I can guarantee being loyal to me. Why are you even here? Who sent you? We ain't even cool like that. This shit's starting to come in waves now. Tides coming in. Don't understand how the moon can move against the moon child. Gravity setting in. Pressure in my chest as I exhale. Jane in my lungs. I might just marry her. She been by my side for a minute now. A lot of Apollo, a lot of Sage. I miss the rage. I miss the invigoration. I miss the thrill of being in a position where I could lose it all. Yet I still find a way to survive. Know it's wrong, but I still play the odds. My life without a risk ain't a life. It's a cage. World small enough without me feeling like my options got to be limited. Got to distance myself from the people that want more from me than I can give them right now. I know me. And if I showed you I have the ability to be pure, then your attachment to me will put the pressure of fixing me onto you. I got to fix myself. I got to love myself. I wasn't even trying to get this deep. I just needed somebody to talk to. Damn. Sorry. Jeez, this is the first time I'm really reading them. Like I'm really trying to read. All right, you got to pick. You got contrition. Or regulate. Whew. This one's called contrition. You're going to have to bear with me. This is a good one. I admit it. Half my rekindles are a result of me missing access. The feelings you would help me find within myself that for some reason I couldn't find it on my own at the time. Missing companionship. Guilty of the narcissistic tendencies associated with the process of fighting the thoughts that maybe I'm going to just end up successful and alone. The price of being great. Spend a lot of my days questioning if there was a better way. If there was a path for me that would have produced less casualties, less headaches, more peace, more reward based around maintaining my purity. I understand that it's too late for me to choose a different route. I'm too far gone. I've watched certain things circle for me. I've watched certain things circle to drain. Trial and error. Gotta know the risk when you get to run in your mouth. Don't say that shit if you don't really mean it. Stared in all this space that I've created out of the immediate need for isolation, the immediate need to recharge. Had to stop waiting for people to wait on me while I fixed myself. Had to stop waiting for people to present me with the opportunity to tell my side of the story. I miss our similarities. I admit it. I gaslighted. I cheated. I admit it. I broke you for no reason, I admit it. We existed in the wrong seasons. I say I've grown, reinvented, and altered how I'm viewed. Became more aware of my participations in the battles I choose. Can't discern which part of me speaks back to me when you cross my mind, so I leave it. Because if I can't trust myself, then how do I expect to be able to present something strong enough for you to believe in? Torn. Don't know if this is a reflection of my ability to form connections or me finding unique ways to offer you protection. My path is defected, different, more challenging than most. I don't deserve your best years as you wait on me to achieve mine, so I sabotage, burn bridges that can never be fixed, push you far enough that you can never find a road back to where we exist. I deserve love. I just don't deserve you. So I need you to fly. Spread your wings and find what it is you seek. Head in my hands. I ask myself why. Why my sacrifices will never feel the same. Why must I be the one to stand in the rain? And they reply, angel of mine, it's hard to fall from heaven without pain. Jeez. Ooh.
Amazing. What does it feel like to read those?
That's surreal. I'm not gonna lie, I get chills. Like, that's crazy. I'm not gassing. You can see me. Like, I'm legit giddy about this. Like, this is, I don't know, man. You just, as I'm reading it, I think I surprised myself in some of the flows and some, I'm gonna be honest, like, the scheme rhymes that come to it. I didn't do that on purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's to read it and see how certain words play off each other,
Yeah.
and it maintains the impact and flow. It's surreal.
And I remember asking you, maybe that one, contrition was one of the ones that I asked you. Were you writing about a particular person? And you said no, it was more collective. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, it's me acknowledging a lifestyle. I can't name just one person that I've done that to. It's just you just understanding that you weren't beneficial to them. And the least you can do is just kind of like own it.
Yeah.
So it's no one in particular. There's several people.
Yeah.
In particular, you know what I mean. So yeah, to answer your question.
Okay, so now that you have been through this journey, do you see yourself as a seeker or a healer?
A healer. For sure. That was a quick one.
Beautiful. And so what do you think that God calls you to do for yourself and others through this work and work to come? What work, if you may have more of this in you.
Yeah.
What do you think God calls you to do? Like, what is the purpose or the calling,
I
or
think
the work for as far as he's concerned?
I think in this moment it's me pushing this out to the public. I don't want to limit, my purpose to just writing. I don't know what it could be a couple years from now. I can't see, that type of vision on my life in regards to what 2 years ago I didn't see this. So in this moment, it's for me to push this as hard as I can.
Do you have a different or new appreciation for yourself because of this whole process?
So a higher, level of self-awareness for sure. A higher appreciation for the healing process for sure. A higher sense of importance surrounding, accepting traumas, grieving your traumas, and getting to a point where, you can deal with, that the pressure, that heartache, and fight depression head on, find routines. When I first started, when I was writing in May, of 2019, I was homeless, and of course you knew that already, but, I was in this position where, I couldn't afford rent. And so, this routine.
You weren't living on the streets. We want people to know that.
I wasn't.
And I didn't see you as homeless.
Yeah. I didn't. Let's put it like this. I was not, asking for change or anything, but.
And you were employed.
And I was employed, but my debt matched my income, and I could not afford rent, and I had maxed out credit cards in the process. So I had, it was one of those situations in which, my paycheck would go directly to bills. And so I didn't know where I was going to live. I couldn't stay where I was at. I put all my stuff in storage. I gave away my car. And I went, on a 4.5-month journey trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I didn't have a consistent space. I had the resources to, have a consistent space, but because nowhere felt, how do I say this? Like I felt off throughout the whole process because I felt like I belonged in Colorado.
Yeah.
And so it was about me trying to find a way to get back to where I felt like I belonged. And, that was just such a.
But what was interesting is that you left Colorado when you were here visiting me in the summer of 2019.
Yeah.
May 2019, you had left Colorado thinking that you were going to move to a different city.
Yeah.
Right? So you had left there and you were thinking that, okay, where I'm going to land, perhaps in Dallas.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going. And this was sort of on the way.
I think that was me not grasping straws, but just trying to make the best out of a situation. Right. I needed help. I needed roommates. I needed a space where I didn't have to have that amount of expenses on me at the time. And so, I was compensating.
Right. What I'm trying to get to, though, is that you went back to Colorado because during that process, you realized that really was where you wanted to be, and you were going back there.
Yeah.
So you didn't move you left there for, on this journey of 3 or 4 months.
I spent the month in each location.
Yeah. And then wasn't that the same year that you went to, where did you go? What country?
Yeah, I backpacked Europe. Mm-hmm. So I flew into London, took the train to Amsterdam, stayed in Amsterdam for a couple of days.
By yourself? You did this all alone?
Yeah.
As it was a solo trip is what I'm trying to get to.
It was a solo trip for sure. I met, so my coworkers were going to a festival called Tomorrowland in Belgium. And so we all flew to Europe at the same time. And then I spent a day and a half with them in Amsterdam. And then we all went on our own separate ways for like 6 days. And so I took a bus to Croatia. I think 2 of them went to France and 1 other one went to Belgium. And so I went to Croatia. It was a day and a half bus ride. And I got there, and I made hella friends. They were amazing people. I got like a little autograph yearbook for them. But I ended up flying back to, I took a ferry to Dubrovnik, which is also in Croatia. That's the King's Land in Game of Thrones. So I did the little walk-in tour for that. I ate there. It was really hot. Jeez. It's like stone, right? So you're just walking through this castle or whatever.
Was that amazing or what?
It was amazingly hot. But
the visual.
I feel like if you didn't love Game of Thrones, you would have loved the view, but you would have been ready to go.
Whose castle were you in? Cersei or the set, or what do you mean?
No, I mean
what would we know it to be?
Okay, so King's Landing is Croatia.
King's Landing, okay.
That's the city in Game of Thrones. You're better than this. Pull it together. You're embarrassing me. We're supposed to be avid Game of Thrones fans.
Hey, listen, I'm just stuck on not today. Not today.
What happened on Monday? What was I about to say? So that was cool. It was really hot, you know what I mean? But I appreciated it because I was just such an avid fan. Yeah. And so I don't know if that heightened it as well, you know what I mean? But the view itself was amazing. The water was amazing. It's so the scene, like the landscape is just iconic. Like I can't.
And wasn't that the year the series ended? Wasn't that 2019? Because we watched it together.
Oh, it for sure did. Wow.
Or no, it was 2018 we did that.
No. It ended 2019.
It did?
Yeah, they skipped 2018. So it's aired in 2017. They skipped 2018. They ended it in 2019, I believe. If I'm wrong,
all right,
but whatever. But no, man. It was really fun. It was really a recharge.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow. Okay. So read one more.
Okay.
And how can people get the book? Because we're gonna slide out after you read this one. I think it's a perfect way to end.
Sure.
How can people get this? When will it be available? And what if people want to get in touch with you? Because you're
absolutely.
a celeb.
Absolutely.
To some.
So my phone number is. No, I'm just kidding. So the book is gonna be released. Right now the target date is February 5th, 2022. I plan to be done with it in regards to it up and actively ready. I'll probably send a link to all the family and close friends, mid-January.
Mm-hmm.
And, Instagram will be, a main platform in regards to a lot of images and so forth. I'll end up eventually making a landing page as well. So when you're hearing this, go to my profile on Instagram where you can find the link.
And your profile is?
At JMurk, JMURKK on Instagram. And in my bio, by the time you hear this, there will be a landing page there for you to subscribe to an email listing in which I'll just keep you updated along the way. But Love is Love will be accessible in February to the world.
Justin, this is just so beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you. This really does feel really good.
How are you going to celebrate once it comes out?
When I'm done, I'm going to Hawaii.
Yeah. When?
January.
I'm
not telling dates. Okay. You know what I mean?
But that's how you're gonna celebrate.
I mean, in a way, yeah. I just, I'm getting to a point in my life where it's like I just know every month or when I can, I just need some downtime.
Yeah.
I think people like us just kind of spend our days just going 100 miles an hour, and it's exhausting. And we just look up, and so much time has passed by in the process, and it's like you just have to take a moment to say no.
Yeah, because it's 48 hours within 24 hours. That's the way I look at it.
Huh.
We're putting 2 days in a 24-hour period.
Huh.
That's why we're so crazy.
Wow. Never looked at it like that. I believe you. That's what I'm doing.
Whatever.
That's what I'm doing.
It used to be that you could just relax,
right.
before
There's no downtime.
Yeah, generations before you.
Right. Oh. Okay. Oh, how I envy. Okay. This one's called Regulate, and it goes like this. I need equilibrium in my immediate vicinity. Cons for every pro. Devil's advocates need a life with some balance. I imagine I wouldn't appreciate these accomplishments if they were never met with a brute force against my will to push on. Really affected the way I look at tribulation. I always felt the weight of my generation on my shoulders. I slouch when I walk. It's not light. It's never benefited me in the shade. Loving myself a little more as the days go by, compensating for the lowering of my expectations from people, had to adjust my priorities some. Not sure who told me that success in my career would run alongside success in my personal life. Guess living amongst controlled chaos offsets synchronicity. Subtle signs that I'm getting older. You start to see things for what they're worth to your peace. Associate myself with the many. Put my trust into few. Winter is cold. Turned the heat on and began to stay inside. Power to lower my anxiety. Meditation to reduce my stress. Healthy routines. I think I found a little bit of peace in that. Peace getting a little more and more valuable as the days go by. My newly acquired self-love and assurance is presented in the form of arrogance, and I got my reasons. It's important I set some boundaries moving forward. For instance, you don't get to talk down on my ambitions, my ideas, my aspirations. It took everything I had in me to get to this point in my life. Gorilla Glue holds firm, but I'm still not at ease. I gotta protect this last bit of peace I got left. Lord knows if I lose this shit, I'ma lose my shit. From the threads of a few unbroken fingers hangs my life's work. Got all my eggs in one basket. Humble enough to understand my position. I'm dependent on the universe to bend for me. Not by faith, by sight. And when my energy is pure, I can see the difference. My frequency raises. I can feel, without the assistance from drugs, without the need to fill voids. The con is I'm an empath. I feel the bad with the good. And as a culture, we don't understand our words kill. I compensate by choosing not to speak on it at all. I need a life with some balance.
I love that one.
I knew you would. I knew you would.
I remember reading that.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Justin, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, we did it.
Thank you for joining us. Remember, you can listen to all of our episodes on traditional podcast platforms. Subscribe to the podcast. Until next time, let's start healing.